It's time for me to prune my tomatoes. They've gotten way too big and I need to prune them. I'm gonna show you what to look in just a minute. But before I do that, my husband has requested that before I prune the tomatoes, I sanitize these shears. So I'm just gonna use some good old-fashioned Germ-X. You can also use a wipe to do this, but I'm just gonna sanitize my snips. And let's just make sure that when you cut the tomatoes that they don't get disease or anything like that, because I'm going to try to propagate these tomatoes so I can make more tomato plants without having to buy tomato plants. So I'm going to let that dry. This alcohol will evaporate in just a minute. Here's my tomato plants, and they really need to be pruned. I'm talking like way back. And there's also some basil growing in there. I started those after I put the tomato plants in. But anyway, I probably should have put one plant per container. But I mean, I never expect my plants to outgrow the size of the container that they're in, and they always do. I guess, you know, at some point I could learn from my mistakes, but I don't. Anyway, I am going to prune these way back. Like some of these need to be cut off. Like that, anything that does not have a blossom is going to get cut off. And I'm gonna put them in this little pot to try to make some more tomato plants. There's also some weeds in here I need to get out too. So the plant's going to be focusing on making tomatoes and not trying to grow more plant. It'll grow more. This is a good one to try to propagate from. So I am going to cut off this one and that stem, and then all these little hairs on here will help it become a new tomato plant. There is the finished product of the pruning. So that looks a whole lot better than it did. More space. So you want to cut off like all these suckers. That's what they're called. They are not going to produce blossoms. And this is what it looks like. You can see here on the stem it has no it looks different. Hold on, I'll find another one. Let me show you a different one. This is one that will produce blossoms. You see how the leaves look different? It's covered in all these little hairs. The sucker leaves have a little bit of those little hairs on them, but the blossom leaves are the ones that really have those hairs. And that is what helps the tomato plant to form roots. Anyway, I'm gonna continue pruning. So this will help my tomatoes down here get more light if all of the leaves are out of the way. Alright, so that looks way, way better than what we had going on before. That is a whole lot more manageable. And now I can show you all the nice pretty tomatoes that we have. And here are my container plants that I just pruned as well. So that again is a whole lot better. Cutting all these stems off from the bottom is really going to help these plants to be able to grow and focus on trying to produce tomatoes. So I'm really excited about that. I did this last year and my tomato plants came back with a vengeance. And here are my prunes. I got a few. So I'm gonna take these and put some water in here, and I'm gonna let them sit and root and try to propagate some more tomato plants.